Okay. You've been receiving the emails, right?
Yes, I
Claire, okay.
responded back today, actually.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I didn't. I was working on something and I probably should have checked my email, but I didn't. And um, well, was there something on the email? Like, were you not able to access some of the recordings or?
Well, basically, the second one was inaudible.
Oh, really?
No one's responded with
Okay.
saying the sound is.
Yeah, and maybe no one listened to this. There's one other student I know listened to the second class. Like the second class, like it's on video, right? It's a YouTube video.
There are two, and you're speaking in a bedroom.
Oh, that one is
That's
the
what I
most
thought.
recent one. That isn't the second one.
Oh, I don't
There
know.
was that class I recorded from home because that day they had a class here. And yeah, I don't know if anyone who listened, they didn't tell me. But that one I did on my own Zoom, and Zoom only gives you a maximum amount of time. But you're saying one of the videos you couldn't even hear me.
Underwater.
Oh, the first
Muddled.
one or the second one?
Second one.
Second one. That's too bad because.
Muddled underwater.
Okay.
Anyway.
Well, you know,
I'll let you prepare.
yeah, I'm just actually I don't have much. I was gonna. You can check your phone or take a peek at the binder if you wanted to take a peek. Because that's what is nice.
Glasses on?
If you like
If I
to,
need.
yeah, yeah, it's regular size, but
This is amazing that you have this. Thank you so much for offering this up. Unfortunately, spring and summer is probably the worst time.
Yeah.
Like it's impossible right now. We don't only have our crazy lives, the yard work suddenly, if we're lucky enough to have a garden or yard, like and people come out and do socializing, so it's probably like the worst time to try and get people together. Just FYI.
Yeah, well, I
know
agree.
When you walk through, I'm like, yes, I'm interested. This is
yeah.
And the reality is like, oh, this isn't such a great time.
Well, you know, there is a truth that sometimes there's never a great time. I mean, except maybe
sometimes it's the perfect time.
Yeah, sometimes it is.
But yeah, it's just trying to gather, especially Vancouver folks. Aren't we fickle, terrible people?
Yeah.
Apparently we are.
Yeah.
I've got my glasses on.
Great. So this is actually on the email, there is all these links on by email too.
Yeah.
But what's really nice, I know, exactly. It is so much nicer. So yeah, the binder starts here. This is one of the opening prayers we're going to start with.
Fantastic. I did spend 10 days in a Buddhist temple in Japan, but that was 1983.
Okay.
No, 1987, something like that.
Well, some things will be the same. This gives a little outline of like what this 18 courses is about. And then gives a little more kind of breaking down into how the courses are organized into 5 books.
What have you covered, sir?
Well, we're still,
yeah.
No, well,
I mean, the first one, but I didn't complete it because anyway, I could.
Yeah. Well, this one we're actually, today's class 7. What you were listening to was class 5 of the first series.
I missed 6 weeks.
You kind of emailed Georgina kind of like, I think, class 4, and then I had sent you, I said, well, if you can't, I'll send you the recording.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I've got a friend using the maid service in a matter of 2 days, and it's been muddling my brain and my way of thinking and my, I guess, access to the time frames and just getting things done. I'm so disrupted in my heart and mind from this, and I'm also helping with celebration of life. So it's just pardon me.
Yeah.
Probably can't see my eyes. It's just I probably shouldn't even be here,
No,
but
no,
as a
no, no,
courtesy, I wanted, I
no,
thought that
no,
she
no.
was class 4. I don't know how
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
could mess up that.
No, no, no,
class 3.
don't feel bad. Like, I mean, you know, as you said, I know it's a long series and there were quite a few people who were interested in the
Their
beginning
expressed
and they
interest,
weren't,
right? See, this, I
couldn't
think
make it.
this is,
Yeah.
I'm pretty average, so if I'm feeling like suddenly we don't want to be indoors,
Mhm,
we are distracted by friends who want to do other social things, and I've got, it'll be my 3rd celebration of life, and a friend a week ago was in open heart surgery. She's only 52. So there's a lot of things going on within my social and emotional
yeah,
periphery and
yeah,
world.
yeah. Well, this
Anyway,
is,
not
it's
to
kind
make
of like
excuses, but
yoga, you know, you make time for yourself and this will give you a little more to share with those around you. It'll kind of maybe, it is just like a yoga class. I think it just kind of gives you that centering that can make the hectic pace of where we live and all the demands a little easier to manage. So congratulations for being here. And when the fact
Thank
you
you.
listen to it,
I try to listen to it.
listen to it. And
Well,
when you feel, you know, this is what we all have to navigate with, right? And so you're here today, you know, you just put away your phone for the next hour and a bit.
yes.
And
Happily,
yeah,
I
and flip
fantasize about
through.
destroying it, but
Yeah, you turn it off. You have permission from me. Turn it off. Put it by the desk. So flip through. You know, but actually, and later on, if you're like, hey, I want to kind of catch up, there is like the first class that I kind of give a little more explanation. But you flip through. There's some.
I love what you had to say just in the beginning.
Oh, wonderful.
Is that Sanskrit?
Tibetan.
Tibetan.
Yeah, so it's beautiful, and then they.
Yeah. This is my friend.
Yeah.
So this is amazing.
Yeah.
This is nuts.
Just
this is,
you know, just take a flip through now. We will.
Again in January.
Yeah. Well, you know, this is 18 courses. A lot of it will be the same. Oh, hi, Amber. And we'll do another session in the fall, and then yeah, probably one in January. And well, you know, the funny thing is you don't need to, like, I know this is the first course, but when I first took it, the teacher started in course 7.
Okay,
and it was easy to follow. The important parts about Buddhism will be repeated. I'm repeating something today that I repeated maybe in the class you heard, just because, you know, there's a lot of information. The information that really is important is what we can apply in our lives, and the time you step back outside, you know, yeah, like breathe and be here. It's so you don't have to feel like, you know, if I missed the beginning, maybe a good analogy is like a soap opera. You know, those old soap operas where you could
they make something happen.
well, if you get in on you probably by the end of that episode, you'll kind of know who the main characters are.
My dad actually got involved with that.
Yeah. I remember when I was young. I mean, not that but on the Prody days, my brother and I, you know, what would we do? It was our time to have free TV when my mom wasn't home. So like Price is Right, and then like, oh, afternoon, there's these soap operas. So it would be like, you watch one.
Did you get caught up on world? As the world
as the turns
spins or
Santa Barbara was pretty big. I remember at that time.
What did he get involved with?
I mean, Dallas. We were a big Dallas and Dynasty fan. Yeah.
Dynasty. Dynasty. No, I didn't have a TV for years and years.
Okay, that's great.
A little bit older, and I didn't want to watch TV. I wanted to live my life.
Yeah.
Go.
That's wonderful.
I tried to live as best as I could, but yeah. So I didn't, and I also didn't want to pay for cable.
Oh, great. Yeah,
I wasn't at home.
Yeah.
Why should I, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, you were doing the road less traveled.
I had my own business at 22, so.
Awesome.
You know.
Great. Yeah. So flip
Okay,
through.
thank you
I'm
so
just gonna, do you need a pen or do you have one?
Pen and paper.
Oh, you know, I will not forget your face, but tell me the first syllable. L, right?
T.
Tina.
Yes.
Yes. What's your last name, Tina?
Chow.
Oh, C-H-O-U?
C-H-O-W.
Oh, okay. My wife's a Chow, but C-H-O-U.
Oh.
So is it just a misspelling or is it like you guys are quite different?
No idea.
Chow is different from Chow. I'll ask my wife because she says there's a village of Chows, C-H-O-U.
Oh.
And her dad is older and he goes back to China and meets with all the other Chows. You know, there's like this big, you know, I guess every last name has a big family, but for some reason they all kind of live in one area and then they'll do these activities together. And Claire, help
Yes.
yourself to more bolsters, make yourself a little
Okay, oh, yes, and I brought.
palace. Yeah, you can sit on a mat.
Contribution.
Okay, we can do it later unless you're in a rush.
Just for the water bottle, because I just had them.
No, the water, yeah, you don't.
The water thing today. It's a little cup.
Oh, okay. Oh, Claire, oh, okay, don't worry. Actually, that cup belongs to a
something else.
teacher.
Oh.
It
No,
says
leave it in
Mickey-
there, it'll be fine.
Oh, okay.
She gets a little tip.
Well, maybe you'll start something and then she'll have a jar full of change. Do you have a pen, Claire? Maybe you do? Or do you want some paper?
Sure, I did. No, I wish I didn't, I didn't know that we note taking.
You don't need to, but if you wanted to, I thought that's always, I have paper, but if you have a pen, it's nice. You don't need to take any notes. You just can enjoy. You can do what Tina's doing, lie down and just listen, or you can write down notes. Some people, I used to listen and I'd draw some pictures and, you know, I learned how to draw the word Buddha is repeated over and over. I learned how to draw a little picture to represent that
Thank
whenever.
you.
Yes.
Should we be meditating in a certain way? I meditate, but not, I've been meditating regularly for about 2.5 months.
Wonderful.
But we have to do a certain way, like think about renunciation or.
Oh, like having that in mind. You know, no, there is definitely meditations can have a whole range. So um, it is always nice to have that, you know, but whatever you're practicing, whatever your meditation practice right now is okay too. Yeah. I would say just in terms of like, I thought you were talking about sitting position, but no, you're just kind of like, what do you have in mind? Um,
So I just focus on the breath.
yeah, yeah. Right now, you know, in the homeworks, there usually is a little suggested meditation for the week so that you could take a look at it and go, okay, today we'll do finish class 7. And even if you don't do the homework, take a look at what it says to consider. And then you can go, okay, I'll add that to my breath. Because, you know, the truth is focusing on your breath isn't easy, right? It sounds easy, but you know, 10 seconds later, 20 seconds later, your mind's off. And then you come back. And some days your mind's so busy, you want to have a little something different to focus on. So focusing on the breath would be like working on concentration. You're trying to bring the focus back. But some days you can kind of reflect on something, think about something, but then you wouldn't think about, you know, plan your whole day, but you pick one. Yeah. So this is what I would say. All right. So, and Amber, these are good headphones, so you should be able to hear me well. I think you did before.
Yep.
But you just
All good.
unmute and and let me know if you are not able to. I have a backup just to record. Oh, okay. Kim unfortunately cannot be here. I'm gonna record it on the phone just in case something goes wrong with the Zoom recording. And we'll have the backup. Now, Claire, you had said you'd taken a Buddhist class back in the 80s.
I was, young travelers were offered, actually, no age group. Travelers were offered a 10-day retreat at a beautiful Buddhist monastery in Japan.
Oh, wonderful.
And if you just happen to read the newspaper in Tokyo, and it was an invitation to women.
Oh, great.
So I mean, I was in my 20s, so I met a woman in Germany in her 50s, and met Japanese American from Hawaii, a young woman in her 20s, and
Okay.
travels.
Wonderful. Okay.
So it was such a gift, and we started meditation at 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
It was quite the discipline, and we just crashed into it.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Well, that is a
But it
gift.
was hard.
Yeah.
So I never stayed still
Yeah.
for
Exactly. So it is like they pushed you into the deep end and let you kind of find your way.
Well, they were very kind because we were supposed to do 5 meditations a day at the temple. We ended up doing 3, and they arranged the tea ceremony for us. I mean, it was wonderful. It was actually
Yeah. That was there. Yeah. And look, it's still, that experience is still with you. Well, that is wonderful because, you know, what we start the classes off with a little prostration.
Okay.
And the fact that you have done that and you've been in a society where they do that to everybody. It's okay, you know, but yeah, I've been to Japan quite a few times. And one thing I love about going there is just, you know, the little bow is part of them, you know, that's their greeting and
courtesy.
yeah.
Boy, I'm telling you, when I came back, I've been away for 2.5 years, and Japan was the last place. When I came back to Vancouver, I found people loud and coarse and rude. I mean, it's so senseless.
It is, yeah. You know, so anyway, this is for, you know, I'll have you join us in standing that we're doing the prostration. They'll say for the teacher, and the teacher, the broad sense isn't just really me, but it's to each other. They're teachers for each other, and to your inner teacher that somehow has brought you out on a beautiful day. Even Amber could be doing gazillion things right now, but you decided to go, you know what, I'm going to follow this little part that's calling me to be open and hear about something that many people might want to, but haven't been able to bring themselves here. All right, so it's 3 prostrations, and you can just do it kind of as a simple bow, or you can, it's meant to connect your body, speech, and mind. And then you come onto your knees, a little bow, and to do 2 more, connecting your body, speech, and mind, which they say is in your heart.
Oh,
Yes. Think of your teacher, teachers. Okay, wonderful. So we can come into sitting as we just start with that opening prayer. It was what Tina had just mentioned about, you know, the intention. Intention behind everything is really important. And so this actually, of course, is starting with that. It's that inside of your binder, we're doing offering the mandala. It is on the inside of your binder, that sheet. Yep, yep. We're gonna, yeah, just pull out that sheet because we're gonna read out both. You'll see the top one is in Tibetan, and I actually was gonna, you know, the first 6 classes we just did the English, but actually, you know, we're gonna move towards doing the chant in Tibetan. So I thought we would just kind of read it. Maybe I'll read it out the first time just so that you can hear the pronunciation. What I like about it, the Tibetan, is it is, you know, I think you will be able to pick up the pronunciation by looking at how it's written. So it goes Sashi Puki Chukshing Maytok Tram Virab, that's a V, Lingshi Yende Genpa Di Sangye Shindu Mite Uwar Gi, even though it's GYI, Drokun Namdak Shingla Chupar Shok, and then Idam Guru Ratnam Madakam Iratayami. And Cheryl, maybe you can just skim through the English. That is what you're actually, that's the translation of it. And I think in the second course, we'll kind of break down and do a little more on what this means. But for right now, it's setting that intention by offering this, the mandala. All right. So you can join me, or you can do it quietly, or you can just, like, you don't have to repeat it out loud. You could just say it in your head or just read along, or we can start reading it out loud together.
we're reading
The Tibetan.
Tibetan, okay, let's do it.
Yes. All right. 1, 2, 3. Sashi Puki Joksheng Me Tok Tram Virab Lingshi Yende Genpa Di Sangye Shindu Mite Uwar Gi Drokun Namdak Shengla Chupar Shok Idam Guru Ratnam Malakam Viratayami. Yeah, that's a mouthful. All right. So the second one, Refuge and a Wish. Now this one we'll do in English today. We'll do it. So this one usually do 3 times. So you can read along, or else again, do it in your head. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge to the Buddha and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. All right. And, you know, in the poster, I'd said we'd do a little yoga, but I found that the material at least in these first classes, it's quite a bit. So what I've just instead kind of started the class off with a little breathing exercise. So there's some Kleenex there if you like. You might not need it. Tina, there's some in that corner. But we're just going to do a little breathing exercise to calm our busy mind a little bit more. So this one, some of you probably have done. It's called alternate nostril breath, right? Just breathe in through one nose, through the other. So with your right hand, you fold your first two fingers down so that your thumb will close off one nostril and the ring finger the other one, right? Okay. So close off your right nostril first, then you can exhale fully through your left. When you finished, inhale slowly through the left nostril. Close that left, exhale slowly through the right. When you finished, inhale through the right nostril. Close the right, exhale slowly and fully through your left. That's one round, and you're just going to continue. Inhaling through the left. Closing it, exhaling through the right. When you finished, inhale through the right nostril. Close the right, exhale through the left. So continue at your own pace. Make the breath long and smooth. Think of water through a hose, slow and steady stream. If your nose is clogged, one or both, if they still haven't cleared up, you can still do this exercise, just visualizing. That's by breathing through one nostril, you are slowing down your breath, which is quieting your mind, your emotions. They say you're also balancing the warm and the cooling energy in your body. This is why you can do it, even if you're not physically breathing just through one nostril. Just continue. And if your right arm gets a little tired, use your left hand to support the right elbow. Just be careful your head doesn't drop down or turn a little to the right, which it tends to because you're using your right arm. Try to center your head. That's it. Nice. See if you can make your exhalation as long, if not longer than your inhalation. And let you enjoy 5 more rounds. Remember, one round begins and ends on your left, so take your time. No rush. When you finish, or if you finished already, just have your palms on your thighs. Breathe in slowly, in and out through both nostrils. Seeing if you notice difference in how you're feeling. If I was to say we're gonna just focus on your breath, whether it'd seem a little easier now than before you did this alternate nostril breath. Probably did only 10 to 15 rounds just now. I started my class with this. I'm sure some of you in class have done this before Shavasana. Do it before I go to bed every night to quiet my busy mind. Remember that your breath is like a thermostat. It's not like a light switch. You just shift it and light comes on and off. But like a thermostat, you change your breath, and it slowly affects how you mentally, emotionally feel. If your mind's still busy, feel free to continue a few more rounds. But as you bring your hands in a prayer, to really thank yourself. I said it before, and I'll repeat it again. They say it's a wonderful karma for you to come to a class to learn about this. And it is very rare. You have to have a lot of karma to have the interest, and then they say face the obstacles that are in the way of coming to class. I shared with you some of mine. It's just like I resisted coming to class, like almost every class for my first few courses. So whatever you had to put aside, thank yourself for giving you this. Again, the word namaste means the spirit in me saluting the spirit in you. I'll offer that again. Namaste. So, and though Claire, you're joining us, and Tina just joined us, Amber came in earlier on, we always start with a little review. And last week we had talked a little bit more about karma. And I'm not going to put you on the spot, Claire, but if you had to say, you know, explain to a young child, so in really short, what is karma? What would you say it to be? Yes, there's no wrong. Life's lesson. Okay. Like your life's lesson. Lesson in their life. Okay, wonderful. And it is true, like, you know, with language, with words, there is many different definitions of it. And yeah, Tina, if you feel like, yeah, lean against the pole, or if you want to sit against the wall, do so. If you want to lie down a bit, that's fine too. Want you to feel comfortable. But it is good that in Buddhism, especially in this Tibetan Buddhism, they're pretty clear that certain things have a certain definition. And it gives us the same, you know, kind of build like alphabet to work with. Right? So according to Tibetan Buddhism, they say karma is any movement of the mind or that which it affects. Most commonly, our thoughts will affect our speech or our action. Right? So, you know, because I know if you asked me that question, maybe when I started, I would say cause and effect. That was something that I had heard of and heard quite a bit. But yeah, that's where, you know, that thought, I tell you, close your eyes, you'd have karmas coming. He said 64 in a second, like it's that fast. Yeah. 64. 64, yeah, second that way. It's just, it's so fast, we can't register. It's almost like a moving, you know how in a movie, it's actually like little slides, but when it moves quickly, it seems like they're moving. So that's what it is. And last week we were sharing, kind of talking about qualities of karma. So, you know, Amber and Tina were here, and if you don't remember any of them, that is absolutely fine. But if you remember one of them, could you share it? And Amber, you could look at your notes. I know you had took some good ones last time.
Yeah. It's definite. Like good,
Yeah,
good
karma is
action, you get a good result.
Yeah, you guys can't hear Amber, but I'll repeat it. But she was saying that karma is definite. Do you remember what that meant, kind of, Tina?
It will ripen.
Yep, definitely. Maybe that one is maybe the third or fourth one, but the first one, that definite, would be that a good action leads to a good result. Not a bad action will lead to a bad result. And so that there is, and we have seen it, where some bad actions, we've probably all done it ourselves, led to a good result. I had shared one in the early classes about stealing, then getting something good. But really, karma is saying, laws of karma is that I got this good thing because I did a past good action. That this, my current action of stealing, which is not good, will actually lead to a bad result later, which is the second one, which is wonderful. Claire, you came in talking about your garden, and I'm sure you look at the garden and it's like growing, right? Weeds or what you don't want to, or what you want to grow, right? Because that is definitely the second principle of karma, that karma grows. So your good action is, they talk about it as karma as seeds, that your good action will grow to a bigger result, which is definitely true. We see in the garden, right? A small little, I still remember 20 years ago, we had new fresh grass on the lawn. It's all green. And then I remember seeing the, you know, the pollen from the dandelion. Yeah, now we're like yellow flowers all over. My wife is just yesterday pulling out, her allergies are like flaring out. I'm pulling out weeds, and yeah, I just had pulled them out, and there's all these clovers around the parsley I have. Yeah, karma grows. And what Tina was mentioning was maybe the third and fourth one, that with, and this completely makes sense in the physical world, that if you don't put in a seed, you won't get that plant. So if you don't do the action, you won't get the result. And so whatever result you want, you know, just say, this is the one thing I started actually the first class with. What do we all have in common? They say, the Buddhists would say, we all want to be happy. We all don't want to suffer. That is the truth of everybody, you know. So just say, yeah, that is a result of wanting to come to class. You want to be happier. Well, if you don't do the action, then it won't be that. And so the fourth one is almost like the same, but it's just saying that if you do the action, you know, you do something like giving some money to somebody, you are coming to learn about something that will help you, then you will get a result. If you went back there and stole a book, then that will come back. Maybe they say not right away. It could not even be in this lifetime. It could be in your next lifetime or lifetimes after that. But probably later on, it will grow even more. So those are the four kind of principles. There's a lot more about karma. There is a whole course just on karma. But those four principles was part of a meditation they suggested as a homework, right? That they said, if you meditated on karma, these four, just kind of repeating the thought and kind of playing through, is it really true? Or where is it true in my life? Or what examples do I have of that? That'd be like how you meditate on karma. It's supposed to help the person not have desire for future lives. And so to back up a little bit, they say a lot of people in our older years might, the Buddha's one of his most famous sayings is that life is suffering. I won't go into all the details. You might have heard a little bit of it on that audio, and there definitely is through the other classes. But they will say some people when they're older, not all, but some will get to the stage where they're like, yeah, I agree. I'm no longer so invested in my career. They see relationships. They see the ups and downs of relationships. I mean, it just made me laugh. It was only not too long ago, here's the perfect example, thought Elon Musk and Donald Trump were besties. And then I listened after I was preparing this class, CBC, and then they shared a little bit about how they're no longer friends. My wife says, no, there's news now that they're faking it. I say, well, it doesn't matter. They're definitely having an open feud, and they're sharing details about each other that they probably wouldn't, if they were really friends. So this is one of the sufferings of human life, that things can be changed like that. I see examples I had an example where suddenly my family didn't talk to me for 8 months over a little thing that I did, which if I told you, you guys would be like, really? But yeah, that's what happens. Karma can ripen and change. So they say some people older might see people pass away, see people get sick. Suddenly everything that's thought they might think, brings happiness in this life, they kind of see changes, is not lasting. And so they said, especially in the East, where people were taught, they're growing up, that you're going to have an afterlife, that reincarnation is kind of accepted there. Whereas in the West, we're not, might pass on that there is Santa Claus or Easter Bunny or Tooth Fairy. I know we shared that with our kids even, but yeah, reincarnation is not everyone's belief here. But in the East it is. And so as they were giving the example, they're like, well, a lot of even older people who are not Buddhist might kind of go, well, I hope my next life it will be better, that I'll be richer, I'll be more beautiful, I'll have a longer life, I won't be sick, and they start having wishes for a future life, and they might make donations to the temple, might start going to the temple, might start learning about what might help them in the afterlife. But so Buddhism is saying, that, the wish for a better future life is not bad. It can still lead us to doing good. But the ultimate goal, I would say, if I have to, Claire, you asked me, what is the point of these courses? What's the point of coming here on a beautiful Saturday when you could be doing something else? Is meant for us to be happy permanently, that we can find joys and happiness in this life. You can be out there with your friends right now. You could be there gardening. You could be having a drink, enjoying the sun, the beautiful weather. But that will change and that won't last. And what we are, if you agree, we all are wanting to be happy and not suffer, is that we would like to be, and this is what Buddhism promises, that Buddhahood, enlightenment, is like maybe the Christian belief of heaven, that it is permanent happiness, lasting happiness, and not something that will fade and change, that we have no control over, So yeah, because that is really kind of like the path, the four truths that Buddha says is that life is suffering, that there is a cause of this suffering, there's an end to this suffering, that there's a path to the end. So these courses are giving the path to that. That's why I'm here, to be honest. So the Buddhists will say it's not enough just to wish for a better life in your next life. That some who will meditate a lot, their practice will be like, I'm going to meditate a lot. And they have focused their mind so much, they can focus and meditate for hours on something. They actually will, that practice actually will lead them to rebirth, they say, as a pleasure being, as a demigod or as a god, that they're in these paradise realms where they're in bliss. Unfortunately, that's not Buddhahood, that's on the way, but that once they finish off all that good karma, they're reborn back in the lower realms, hell or the craving spirits or as an animal, but it's not a lasting happiness. So this is where they'll say, don't just do the meditation. There's many meditations that you can do, but they say, don't make that your entire practice. That, yeah, if you can do your meditation with that intention of helping all beings, this is what we're going to talk about in today's class, bodhicitta, that will take you not just to the pleasure realm, but it'll take you towards Buddhahood, enlightenment, where then it is permanent state. You're not going to come back in the suffering realm. So, yeah, that is what, so this course, this first one is about the 3 principal paths. And along every class, it's kind of repeated over and over, that if you practice these 3 paths, it will lead you to there. And so the first one is what Tina said. You want to repeat that? Tina, what it was you were saying? I should practice meditation with renunciation. Yeah. And that again, Claire, if I ask you what's your definition, you probably will have one. But according to the Buddhism, their 3-word answer would be disgust with life. Disgust. Yeah, it's quite harsh. Like it's not like, yeah, disgust with life. That I don't want to, just because I want to make sure we continue along, that you will, if you do the reading, like this is a great thing about the binders, that there's readings for every class, that you'll hear. Was it last class we talked about the 6 sufferings? Yeah, we did that as a review, right, Tina? That they say there are 6 sufferings of human life. And, if I definitely say, take a look at that. If I finish this, I'll repeat it again. But thinking about how nothing ever lasts in this life, things always change. What goes up goes down. That we are going to die. We're all going to get old. And when we die, we can't bring anything with us. Like you said, your celebration of life. And my friends, his father passed away in the hospice yesterday. And yeah, there's nothing you can bring with us. They will say, except your karma, that your actions, things that you said, your thoughts, those things you'll bring with you into your next life. And that, funny enough, also on CBC News, that's kind of like the little bit of news I hear. They're saying, the Lapu Lapu Festival, they're going to have a 40-day celebration. And I'm not sure whether, I do know Filipinos, a lot of them are Catholic, but according to Buddhism, the 49 days after you die are very special days. I don't know. Have you heard of it, Claire? That, the Buddhists will say it's the mind stream. Some will say it is the soul. The non-physical part of us leaves our physical body and goes off into the bardo or their next rebirth. So where do they go? Where may they possibly go? It will depend on their karma. But if you've done some really big misdeeds, you are heading to one of the 8 hells. They say that there's 8, a whole course on the description of the 8 hot cells, hells, and 8 cold hells. If you didn't do things as bad, you might come back as a craving spirit, which is like a ghost, where they are either craving food or water, but they can't. They have big swollen head, supposedly, and like a narrow throat, and whenever they approach it, they can't consume it. Yeah, and then even animals, and this is where Kim was here, another student you might see next class, and Amber, all 3 of us, maybe you 2 have a pet. Usually probably not referring to pets in this Western world, which are, you know, like babies, or which we care for, as well as each other. Yes. But there's a lot of animals that are bred just for slaughter, right? For our food or consumption, to be worked to death. Many animals in nature that are just constantly in fear of being consumed by a predator. So yeah, those are the 3 lower realms. So yeah, you can be born based on your karma there. And so for 49 days, they are kind of, that's when they'll be decided where they'll go. And so again, there's another course on talking all about what happens in the bardo. So I'm not going to go into that now. So what else did I? So with karma, what I had wanted to review is that I had said quite often, if you ask someone on the street outside, have you heard of karma? I would say a lot of people have, you know, have heard of the word and probably could give you a little description of it. But if you say the word emptiness, might not. And that is, in Buddhism, is probably as important as karma. They say it's like the 2 sides of a coin, which, yeah, you can't separate, right? Heads or tail, they're both on the same coin. So what is emptiness? I've described it to Amber before, and I'm going to use a different example today. I would say, look at the weather outside today. Thumbs up if you like it. Okay. Amber, is that thumbs up for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, I will say for most people, we're like, this is the Vancouver that you want to tell people to come visit, and this is what we've been waiting all winter for. But you know, today is not, I would say, also a great day for some allergy sufferers. The grass count is really high. My wife took 2 reactants, one at night, in the morning. It's dry. It's better when it's rainy because it kind of just keeps the pollen down. But instead, for this May and June, it's just like, oh, you know, I was talking with a tennis player yesterday, and he's like, yeah, I had shots, and psoriasis acts up. I have my sister-in-law who, this is a one thing that Claire might not know, maybe Tina does, maybe Amber, I don't know. But there is a group of the population that doesn't like the sun. Yeah, you've seen, and I will say as an Asian, not being racist at all, but there's these sun visors that cover the whole face that prevent them from getting any sun because, I mean, you clarify for me, but I believe it's because they don't want to have their face,
Yeah,
right?
There's vanity, there's also classism.
Yes, yeah, and in the Eastern culture, if you're
Yes.
dark colored, you are a laborer. So the fair skin, my sister-in-law is, yeah, has paid $5,000 to get facial work. She does, yes. I looked at her face like, how could it be so white? And it is very clear, I have to say. Not personally, not what I feel is attractive, but obviously I'm, you know, anyway. fact is today actually is not, though 3 of you, including myself, 4 of us, were kind of, this is the perfect day. It's not a perfect day for some people. And this is where, this is like everything actually. No matter what you might kind of, I'll tell you, what's your favorite thing? What do you look forward to? Or what do you dislike? There will be people who see the opposite. So why do I say that? Because some people say, well, yeah, that is like, there's nothing, nobody, you know, we might all go Trump, boo, but there's a lot of people in the US who said Trump, yes. Right? It isn't just simply saying eye of the beholder, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, that we all see the same thing differently. What Buddhism is saying is that actually how we see reality is that when you see me, and there's 3 of you seeing me right now, you guys are seeing like, oh, there's someone there talking and saying things. And you may have an opinion on who I am and how I'm saying it and whatever. And it could be the same, but it could be entirely different. But Buddhism is saying that, like the weather, like pen, the example that they used was a pen, that whatever you're seeing is not self-existent. This is the word they use. That I'll say, we'll use the weather. That you might go, oh, when it's sunny and it's not too hot with a little bit of breeze, it's perfect. It isn't perfect. It's only that your mind has placed that feeling and that meaning to the weather, to me, whatever you see. If someone asks you, how was your class this afternoon? You're like, oh, it was da, 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 da. That is partly what you feel, but they say it isn't exactly something that you have control over. The same way I'll tell you right now, close your eyes and focus on your breath. Try it now. Very simple instruction. But if you're really honest, you'll notice that your mind can't stick to that. And in one way, the explanation is that, oh, our mind is so busy. But actually, that is an example of how your past actions have kind of projected your mind to not be able to focus on it. That we are, I guess, another explanation of emptiness is like you're watching a movie, right? Everything you are seeing is like a movie, that you're feeling is like a movie, except that movie was created from your past. So this is where those who see this beautiful weather today, you know, supposedly you did something good so that you have this experience of this weather. I know some people who were born here, they love the rain and the cloud. They don't actually really like the sunny, cloudless day. They like it a bit damp. They like it a bit cool. They feel their skin is better. They love the winter, actually. I was like, oh, I always thought people didn't like that, but they do. So they have the karma that you have from a good weather, but they have it for, and then, but this is what they call ignorance, is that we think that, you know, the weather is making you feel good, you know, when actually it isn't that at all. You know, the fact that different people have a different reaction to the same thing is showing that Buddhism will say that we are placing our past karma is creating how we feel and how we see things. You could say, in a way, it's kind of like you don't have control of what you first experienced, which is kind of a bit true. Like if I showed you something you really didn't like, I'm sorry, use Trump again, and maybe you go, oh, it's almost like that reaction you don't have control over initially. What you do have, and what the Buddhists will say, is that whatever comes up is from your karma, but your reaction to it is something that you can affect. That if you saw something that you really didn't like, and then in your mind you're like, yeah, what an evil person. He's so like bad, and we should hurt him, because of what he's doing to others, then you're actually putting more karma into place. That is our free choice. The free choice isn't like your initial reaction. I can show you something in my day. I'm not going to tell you what it is. And when I show you, just check in with what your reaction is. Chocolate. Some will go, yummy. Kim, for example, was like, yes, and when she grabbed them. And I think, was it Tina? No, actually Gordon was here, and then he's like, oh no, sorry, I don't want to be rude. I'm off sugar and I don't want to, it was like, no, thank you. I don't want to be rude. So whatever this was, it wasn't so much you might think it was a choice for you to have that feeling. The karma will say, no, that came from the past. Now, what you do with it is like, then you have the choice. You're like, oh, okay, that's just what it is. So this is where, as I said, you can interpret, if you tell someone at home, like, what did you learn about Buddhism today? And you're like, yeah, I heard this term called emptiness. And it's just saying that what we see is not something from, it's not like there's a light bulb inside this piece of chocolate, which says, whether you like it, it goes, oh, very good, or you don't like it. It's not coming from the object, it's coming from your mind. And that is what I'd like you to kind of meditate on and think about, even if it might not feel like it's completely true right for you right now. Because, and I'll repeat that maybe even next class, but they said this emptiness explanation is important, because how will it apply into your life? It means that everything you can take responsibility for. And it's probably better to use first an example of, think of someone you don't really like, that triggers you, that upsets you, pushes your button. I don't mean all the time, but even, once in a while. You might kind of go, geez, yeah, that person is like, Well, according to Buddhism, it's kind of like that you feel that because of what you've done to someone else. That someone else could be in the same room with you and go, oh, isn't he sweet, or isn't she sweet? They might see that completely differently. And the example that this teacher wrote was like, he was working in a company, he got yelled at by the boss. He got the feeling he didn't like it. Most people might say, yeah, it's not a good experience, but if the owner's wife was there, he saw her smiling because the wife was happy that her husband was telling this teacher what not to do, because it was affecting the profit for the family. So in the same situation, two people were like, hey, this is a good thing. Whereas, for that person, oh, he's getting like reprimanded. And Claire, go ahead. Yes.
So I'm making notes. It's a note. Emptiness. Is it our feeling is part of our current past?
Mhm.
And our karma to advance is how we react? Is that correct? Or is it, you said our reaction is part of our past?
Yeah. That initial I would say, no, not the reaction. I'd say maybe your,
What's the terminology?
what's the terminology? Your what you feel,
feeling.
yeah, your feeling
And then-
is, yeah,
So it's how we react,
how you respond
respond, thank you.
will be your karma. You know, that
Yeah.
you have a reaction. Someone yells at you. You might, some people's reaction is like, for me, I get really scared. Other people, they might, they never take it personally. I know some people like they get yelled at and they're like, oh, it's just that person is in a bad mood. I wish I was like them. But my reaction isn't like that because, but other people don't take it personally. I've seen it. And mine is like, I always take it personally. If you yelled at me, I would be like, maybe I wouldn't show it. I have that ability to hide it now that I'm older, but inside I'm just like clenched up. Like I get yelled at. My son was upset this morning, and I could feel myself like tightening up inside. And yeah, it wasn't like my choice to. I like to be not taking it personally, but that I had to remind myself. It was almost like that's not my default, right? So yeah, it's almost like, what is your default? What is that reaction to something? You know, someone giving you a hug. I like to do that, and some people love it, and other people, because of, will be like, oh, I don't like physical touch, you know. And then now I have to be sensitive. I'm not going to be going around hugging everyone. Just be trying to, you know, maybe after I met them a second, third time, then give them a hug. Something. So yeah, emptiness is recognizing that what you feel and see, like, you know, how you might see something, perception is not something you from itself. It doesn't come from that object.
Yeah.
It doesn't come from that person. So it gives you this responsibility, if you believe this, is that, okay, you know, yeah, power. That's what is the difference, is that
I can choose.
you can choose, right? Because if not, then it's like you're giving your power away. It's, this person is the person bugging you, right? And this is where Buddhism says, once you are responsible and you go, okay, I don't feel good, or I feel great. This is, you know, when now I see something beautiful or I enjoy and taste something beautiful, I'm like, this course has reminded me, like, remember that it's not from chocolate. Not everyone likes chocolate. It's not because of the weather. It's because of the past karma of what I've done that is giving me this feeling. That Buddhism is saying, okay, how to apply that is that if you wanted more of that, if I wanted more of this good feeling of this, that you would help others with it. You'd plant the seed for it. So, you know, the most common example would be like, just say you wanted more money. I definitely did. I had 2 kids. There's things I would like them to experience. You know, one way would be like, oh, I'm going to keep all my money and so that I can have more to share with my family. But Buddha would say, if you did want to have more, then you need to plant the seed. You need to give it, right? And then, so this is where now I understand a little bit why I know amongst the Chinese community in Chinese New Year, there's a lot of gifting of money. It's not just food. It's what you want to receive is what you give. And at the young age, of course, I was really happy to receive. And then as I'm understanding this, I'm like, yeah, there's something that people have understood. And they will say this too with other things, that if you want love, you know, this is a spiritual new age thing, that you give what you're wanting to receive, right? So that is the same takeaway from this, is like you plant the seed of what you would like to have. But those two are two kind of things in this life that you can do. And this is where I remember my teacher, the teacher who first taught this, said, you know, even if you don't think about Buddhahood and full enlightenment, by acting according to what you learn, applying this, you'll have a better life in this life. But ultimately, the teaching is to say, well, you know, the fact that emptiness exists is how we can become a Buddha. Like if we look at each other right now, you know, my wife always kind of makes a joke when someone will say, oh, you know, I don't know, somehow will come up. taking some Buddhist classes, or I'm now teaching a Buddhist class, my wife will go, he's not a Buddha. It's kind of like jokingly, teasingly kind of poking at me, you know, because she sees the side of me where I'm a little, right? Like, he's no Buddha. And I'm like, yeah, I smile. But yeah, so to kind of go, well, with all our, you know, human weaknesses, or how do we become supposedly like Buddha? And it is planting the seeds. It is doing the meditations, doing the studying, help treating others, that will plant the seeds for us one day to be a Buddha. You know, this is where they're saying that, you know, you look at your hands, they're human hands, but for example, you did something over and over this life, say, just say you killed, right? There is a possibility that after you pass away, you suddenly open your eyes and you see paws. You become a dog. And it's no different, just that your karma now sees those things. You see a snout, you bark, and yeah, it's a different reality. So this is where, if things didn't change, if everyone saw this as a beautiful day, if everyone saw this as delicious, it would never change. And that is the way to kind of go, yeah, if things really are kind of like coming from itself, that person you don't like is always like that, they'd never change. Everyone would see him that way, right? So the fact that we can change our karma is what is really supposedly empowering, and yeah, what made sense to me. So that's kind of like a review of the last class, and today's was saying, well, the three principal paths, one is renunciation. The second one, do you remember, Tina, what it was? Bodhicitta. And that's what we're going to talk about in the last little bit. The official definition for bodhicitta is the wish for enlightenment, to be a full Buddha, not just to go to pleasure realm, for the sake of all beings, not just for yourself. They do say there is, you know, kind of different stages that some people want to reach enlightenment so that they're not reborn in the three lower realms. And I'd say in the West, we don't kind of have that because we didn't even believe in reincarnation. But in the East, they don't want to be a hell being. They don't want to be a craving spirit. They don't want to be an animal. So they're like, I want to be, you know, enlightened. So I'm not that. The second stage is wanting to reach enlightenment for themselves. Like, I want to be enlightened. But the highest path, they call the Mahayana path, what this is to want to be enlightened, to help all beings. You know, and they say that is the only way to get you to final Buddhahood. That if you just wanted to do it for yourself, you know, I just want to do it for myself. And we all know that feeling. Sometimes there are certain things I can admit selfishly. Sometimes there's certain desserts at home. I'm kind of like, I don't want the kids to know. I'm gonna hide in the corner so that I can enjoy more of it. So I definitely know that feeling, like something like, I just want to be enlightened for me. I don't really, I'm not that worried about other people. But they're saying you need so much karma to reach the final point, to be a full Buddha, that you need to actually want to help all beings. Like, you have to have that, your heart has to be that open that to take you to that you can reach enlightenment on your own, but it won't be the final Buddhahood, right? There is a stage in the middle. You've heard of the term nirvana, right? It's used, a lot of things are called nirvana, restaurants are called that. That place along the path is supposedly where you have no mental afflictions. So it's very blissful and very peaceful, but you are not a full Buddha. And so you cannot help all beings. You cannot there, what else? I was trying to think. Maybe I'll get back to you on what else is different about that's not so important here. But bodhicitta, what I did need to go over because some are doing the homework, is that the word itself is translated, bodhi is Buddha, and chitta is mind. So the mind of a Buddha. So if you kind of just translate it, some people think that's what it is, but the homework question asks, is that what it is? And it's like, no, that is just the translation of the word. Sure. So renunciation is usually considered the first, I guess, precursor to bodhicitta, is because they're saying that if you did not have a disgust of this life, that if you did not see that life is suffering, you still think, oh, if I work on my garden and I see my friends all the time, I'm going to be happy and I don't need to. Why do you come to class? You don't need to. Just do the things that make you happy, right? But if you see that that can change, that may not last, then you might make the efforts to come to class, do some reading, find out a little bit more. Is this really what it promises to be? You know, so you need to start with that. You need to kind of question, like, where am I going, before you can kind of go, okay, I'm going to make the effort. This is what made me keep coming to class. I was like, okay, in the back of my mind, I wanted to know more, until I got to the point where I'm sure this is not the right path for me, then I'll drop it. But each class I'd go to, it'd be like, okay, it made sense. So it just kept me going until one day I didn't have the karma of not wanting to come to class. And funny enough, soon enough, the teacher stopped teaching. And then I started doing the courses on my own because I love the reminders. Like, it reminded me of, like, I'd see people in my life I was frustrating, and I would be like, this reminded me, it's not them, it's me. So you have to have renunciation to even consider bodhicitta. How would you have to feel this kind of like, I want to get out of this cycle of being reborn over and over. And to have that first, then you might go, okay, I want to reach a place of permanent happiness. And that's when then you can go, okay. But when I look at other people, I can see that though on the outside they might look fine, and you ask them, how are you? They probably will tell you all the good things that are going on. That the truth is, if you're here as a human, you're still suffering. You know, even the richest person, Elon Musk, is suffering. You know, even the healthiest person, even the person with the best relationships, right? It's not going to last. They are going to get sick. If they don't get sick, they'll still pass away. When they pass away, they won't bring anything with them. So, bodhicitta, that is why you need renunciation. You got to have that understanding and that feeling in your mind that life is suffering. Otherwise, there is no point in continuing with this. So they say, you know, bodhicitta, you know, it's just a word, the wish for enlightenment for the sake of all beings. According to Buddhism, it isn't like you could write this line out a few times and you could have it memorized. You could say it to me. I can say it to you. You know, Hogan, what are you here to do? My teacher can ask me the question. Yes, I'm here to reach enlightenment for the sake of all beings. I can say that easily. But real bodhicitta is having that in your mind. Like it's kind of like how you have a certain belief that brushing your teeth is good for you. I don't think I could convince you otherwise. Don't brush your teeth for you'll be like, or tell my wife, don't take a shower each day. And she'll be like, I'm like a dirty person because I can skip a day, but she's like, no, you gotta be clean. So yeah, there's certain beliefs we hold, and this is what when you want to have a renunciation, the definition of this is you do think about it day and night that yes, there are joys. It's not to say don't enjoy the beautiful day, don't enjoy your hobbies and the people you love, but recognize it's not, the joy isn't from them, it's from your karma. So when you actually have bodhicitta in your mind, this is when they say you're a bodhisattva. So it's the same word bodhi, but sattva, S-A-T-T-V-A. And that's when a person has that in their mind stream, then they're considered a bodhisattva. So a bodhisattva, there are 10 levels of it. That one thing, Claire, you will also be new is I talk about this emptiness, right? But there actually is this experience along the path where when you have the karma, enough karma to, one day you'll come into meditation. And this description of how we see things as that our mind is projecting is something that you actually will experience instead of just intellectualize. I mean, I'm not trying to be crass or anything, but I would just kind of say it'd be like, you describing to a little kid what being intimate, having sex is like. You can describe it as best you can, but their experience is going to be like, I understand now. And so this experience, they call the direct perception of emptiness. Direct perception of emptiness is what is a step along the path that when you experience it, then you'll be able to expand. You'll be able to really understand what emptiness is, that you actually will see what they say. There's a whole course on emptiness, is how our, what our senses are, what we're looking at. When we're looking, just say, pick an object that you're looking at, that you're not actually looking, I'm looking at the table here. Our minds are picking the outside edge, like we're picking parts, and then our mind is kind of putting a definition of what it is. So, and that's the same with our feelings. It might feel like it's real, but so this is that experience. It can be 5 to 20 minutes. It's a very short amount of time, but that experience, a bodhisattva doesn't. You can have bodhicitta without having had that experience. But if you're a bodhisattva with bodhicitta in their mind, and you do have this experience, suddenly you're on the first level of 10 of the bodhisattvas. So that is one of the homework questions. Another term you might hear about in Buddhist books is arhat, A-R-H-A-T. And arhat is someone also on the path, and they have reached enlightenment. I'll make sure, yep. They have reached nirvana where they don't have any mental afflictions, but they're not at the end stage yet. So that is one of also the homework questions that is. So here the last part is a list of benefits of being a bodhisattva. Benefits of being a bodhisattva, someone who has bodhicitta in their mind, or of having bodhicitta. There is actually 9 of them. But when I had to do this exam, they said you only needed to remember 5. And so I'm going to actually describe those 5 because they're actually easier to remember, a little less, even though I kind of went through these, some of them, they'll just feel a little bit obscure, all right? That I will describe the 5 to you by looking at my old notes. That these describe 5 benefits of having bodhicitta, right? that why should, what is the benefit? Because, you know, they say if you don't know the benefit, why would you do it? You know, sometimes when you do a breathing exercise or they do a pose, you know, in yoga, they should tell you the benefits. So you're like, oh, I'm doing this breathing exercise to calm my mind, right? Then you might more likely do it. So why do they say that? They say bodhicitta is like an evergreen tree. You know, like there's trees that offer fruit, but once they give fruit, that's it. But bodhicitta will continue to give you the benefits. One of the major benefits is that anything they do, the karma is, or the karma is expanded. It's almost like you put the seed in, you put in water, you fertilize it, you're giving it love, you're like doing everything to help it grow. So when they're sleeping, if they were feeding a bird, you know, if we did the same thing, their karma from it is just exponential. So if they are a bodhisattva or they have bodhicitta, they liken it to a diamond. That they're not fully enlightened Buddha yet. So they say they're kind of like a diamond, maybe with a defect in it. But a diamond with a defect is still more valuable, more precious than a lot of other jewelry. So they, according to the Buddhists, you are, you know, elevated. Other, you're considered like the sons or daughters of Buddhas, you know. I guess they are supposed to see everyone the same, but you give that analogy to have us all understand that, yeah, there is this closer attachment to our sons and daughters. So they also describe having this bodhicitta as a great fire. They say at the end of a great fire can burn off everything. And so this having bodhicitta can eliminate a lot of your bad karma. You know, one point of understanding emptiness is that when something doesn't go well, you know, you get sick, you feel, even if it's something that you don't feel good, it could be considered a bad karma, that you feel too busy. I felt a bit busy in May. You feel low energy, you just feel you have a little ache or something. That those things are purified quickly. And supposedly if you remember emptiness, you'll kind of go, whenever you do have something, even as small as a headache, you're like, I'm purifying karma, purifying bad karma, so that it doesn't grow into something bigger. So another one is that it is like a chemical elixir. I draw a little test tube, and they say that, you know, in chemistry, you can change some substance to something else. Well, bodhicitta is moving you on the path where we have a physical body now, but Buddhas have a light body, you know, that obviously like light, you just kind of pass through. They can transform themselves to different things, anything from something physical to another human, so that Buddhas can be helping us, that you can be a Buddha right now. I feel like I'm talking to Claire, Tina, and Amber, but really you guys are just Buddhas, just so that I have someone to share. You know, people in your lives, maybe even the challenging ones, could be Buddhas to be there to teach you, right? So, and the last one that I remember having to remember was they considered bodhicitta, bodhisattva, as being like a great warrior, in that it will help you deal with your fears. It can help you overcome obstacles. Yeah, that is the last one. Yeah, that is what these 5 benefits, you know, in the homework it says there's 9, and actually it's in the notes. It's part of the readings where some student wrote down some things which are not in the reading. It's under the notes part of the binder. So there's 9 listed there, but suppose you're just supposed to put 5 in the homework. So those are the 5. Okay, so I can definitely stay for questions, but I do need to end it now just because there is a the next class is at 5, and so the teacher will come in a bit after 4:30. So I definitely will take your questions, but yep, I'm glad we kind of covered what we did. It was the review and then the explanation of bodhicitta. Okay, wonderful. So in closing, we'd do something similar to what we started the class with. We kind of do our closing prayer, which is on the back of the binder for you. So you just like actually, you physically close the binder. I put it on the outside part of the sleeve. You see that one? And it should be called Dedication of the Goodness of a Deed. Yep, you see that? Do you have that one? Clear? Okay.
Way of closing it.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, kind of read the English if you haven't. Oh yeah, I just wanted you to kind of read it because you probably haven't seen it yet, just so that you can understand, because we will also do this one in Tibetan, but at least you'll know what you are actually saying. Earlier in the class, we had talked about how this bodhicitta and then correct view is the third path. They are what leads to merit and wisdom, which leads to the 2 bodies of the Buddha, the mind and the physical body of the Buddha. So this is what we will be kind of closing with. So the Tibetan goes, Gewa Di Kewo Kun, Sunam Yeshe Soksok Shing, Sunam Yeshe Lejong Wei, Dampa Kunyi Topar Shok. All right, so we'll just read that once together. And if you want, you can just follow along or read it out loud. 1, 2, 3. Gewa Di Kewo Kun, Sunam Yeshe Soksok Shing, Sunam Yeshe Lejong Wei, Dampa Kunyi Topar Shok. Give a little namaste to each other. And then we'll end with the 3 prostrations where I'll have you think of, teachers in your life that have, as I said, shared something that has really changed your belief, because that is what this is. When something has changed from within, it leads you to doing, saying, acting in a different way. I want you to consider not just like the physical teacher, I used to think of my grade 1 teacher. It could be something you read. That is considered a teaching too, a teacher. And then do your 3 prostrations, kind of giving thanks to the teacher you were thinking about, teachers, body, speech, and mind. That's one, body, speech, and thank you so very much for coming to class on this beautiful day. I wouldn't be so thankful if you 3 didn't think it was a beautiful day. You're like, I'm hiding from the sun. And I like to say, but you have lots of sun to enjoy. I shall say thank you to Amber for joining us online.